At the edge of the world, there lies a secret place mentioned only in legends, Death Island. Only the bravest pirates and explorers are aware of its existence and terror. It's a place no one dares approach, shrouded in dense fog and surrounded by shipwrecks serving as graves. Rumors say that the great pirate Captain Hector Barbassa and his crew hid their numerous plundered treasures in the island's unfathomable caves. As an explorer, I have always longed to unveil this forbidden land and search for the treasures drowned by time. Finally, I gathered a small team of brave souls, and we decided to set sail, venturing into the unknown dangers. The day we embarked, the sea was calm, reflecting our hopeful spirits for the future. However, as we neared Death Island, the sea became rough, and thick fog, as if alive, enveloped us, guiding us toward that cursed land. Our ship barely made it through the shark-infested waters, and a sense of indescribable fear rose in each of us. That night, barely illuminated by starlight, we camped on the island's western side, between sand and rocks. Our mood was a mix of excitement and nervousness, fantasizing about possible discoveries and unknown encounters. However, as the following days revealed, the island had already woven its web silently. The first night seemed calm until the first light of dawn revealed one of us was missing. A search team was quickly formed, searching the island for any possible clues with urgency and fear. Indescribable calls pierced the surrounding darkness, with cold screams and deep roars intermingling, echoing in the night sky. Our flashlight beams pierced through the night's veil but failed to illuminate the missing teammates' trails. We began to feel uneasy and doubtful. Returning to camp, each of us had indescribable panic hidden in our eyes. No one could explain the disappearance, nor could anyone determine whether those terrifying calls were from some unknown creature on the island or a darker force warning us. The camp was enveloped in oppressive silence, broken only occasionally by rustling sounds. None of us wanted to act alone, even for the simplest tasks, such as fetching something just outside a tent, which frightened us. Flashlights and the campfire became our only solace, lighting up a small piece of land around us, momentarily making us forget about the possible horrors lurking in the darkness outside. That night, we did not sleep deeply. Every sound woke us up. Whispers in the night wind inflated our imagination, making us feel those indistinct noises were calling us from some ancient terror. Huddled by the fire, we tried to find a bit of comfort in each other's company, but the fear inside was inescapable. The fear of the unknown strained every nerve, leading to disputes within the group. Some began to question if someone's actions had triggered the unfortunate event, or if someone harbored secrets unknown to the rest. The atmosphere grew increasingly tense, but ultimately, we realized that infighting would only make us an easier prey to the island's terror. We needed to stand united, not pointing fingers at each other. Our collective fear decided us to set up more sentries, taking turns to keep watch throughout the night to prevent any more disappearances. We also tried to set up simple traps and alarms around the camp, hoping to be alerted to the approach of unknown creatures or forces. Although we knew these measures might have limited efficacy, they at least gave us some direction and psychological comfort. Standing guard, one would feel an unspeakable loneliness and fear, looking out into the dense darkness, as if countless eyes were watching us from the shadows. The wind seemed to carry the island's secrets, infused with the sorrow and whispers of history. Every snap of a twig or distant animal cry quickened our heartbeats, our weapons gripped tightly, ready to face any threats that might emerge. The second night, the oppressive atmosphere of tension thickened even further. One team member's behavior suddenly turned unusual. Unbeknownst to us when it started, he quietly sat in a corner, his eyes hollowly staring into the night's fog, mumbling to himself. At first, we thought he was just pondering alone, but we soon realized the words and sentences he repeated belonged to no language we knew, sounding like ancient and mysterious spells, sometimes whispering, sometimes transforming into sharp, piercing cries. Other team members tried to soothe him, but he seemed to be in another world, blind to any outside interaction. Then, things got worse. As we were about to rest, he suddenly sprinted, rushing towards the cliff at the edge of the camp. Several of us hurried after him, pulling him back from the edge with all our might. Yet even then, There was no fear on his face, only a deep, almost longing call. Not only him, but other team members also began showing unusual signs. Some became restless and sleepless, gathering together with faces full of horrifying premonitions. One by one, some fell into mad fantasies, claiming to hear the call of the island's ancestors, saying they saw the central lake's water surface shimmering eerily under the moonlight. The most terrifying moment erupted with one team member's scream, his voice piercing the night sky, elevating everyone's heart into their throats. Amid the chaos and panic, we saw him uncontrollably struggling, his eyes filled with incomprehensible fear. While we tried our best to restrain him, we heard another chilling scream from afar, seemingly echoing the panic in our camp. On the edge of the cliff, after the cries, there was silence. Just like that, he fell backward into the dark abyss, and we could only watch in shock and helplessness as his figure disappeared into the night. When we came to our senses and recounted our numbers, we had to face a crueler reality. Others had vanished in the confusion. That night was undoubtedly an abyss for everyone's soul, as the island's secrets gradually devoured everyone's sanity. We began to wonder how many unknown and terrifying forces were hidden on the island, and whether we could still stay united to survive the long nights ahead. On the third night, the moon hung on the dark horizon like an indifferent bystander, watching the impending tragedy below. The campfire had long been extinguished, leaving only dying flames struggling in the night wind, their glow uncertain. We huddled together, silently eating, exchanging worried glances. Exhaustion and fear etched deep marks on everyone's faces. The night's silence was filled with ominous premonitions. Whether it was whispers from the depths of the night or the sound of waves crashing against rocks, the team members started to become agitated. First came the break in silence, then angry outbursts. A once warm gesture, a misunderstood glance, the powder keg atmosphere ignited in an instant. Suddenly, a team member's eyes blazed with bottomless rage. He erupted with a roar and lunged at his nearest comrade, hands tightly around the other's neck. Chaos quickly spread as if an invisible rage infected everyone. A peaceful dinner turned into an uncontrollable melee, with combat seemingly the only way to contend with terror. On this cursed land, trust and reason among companions broke down, leaving only instinctive trembling and struggle. Physical collisions and heavy breathing echoed through the night. Painful screams and angry shouts merged into one, reflecting the terror that came from the depths of the dark. In the madness, whether trading blows with fists or striking with sticks grabbed at random, each person was involuntarily drawn into this cycle of self-destruction. Blood and sweat soaked through clothes, coagulating on skin, seeping into the island's soil. I tried to avoid direct conflict, but was inevitably drawn into the storm. I attempted to pull apart teammates engaged in a mortal struggle, but their strength was of another caliber. Before me, the light faded from a teammate's eyes between punches, and another never stood up again after being pushed onto sharp rocks. As time passed, weariness and injury began to replace wrath. Some collapsed on the ground, panting, trying to regain some clarity. Others lay still, either succumbed to sleep or forever departed from the madness. I leaned against an old tree, my back against the trunk, vigilantly surveying my surroundings with the last of my strength. The remaining teammates, with a shred of sanity, kept a wary distance from each other. In the following days, delusions became more frequent and aggressive. Some followers began to exhibit aggressive behavior, chaotically attacking the air, even turning on us companions. The once close-knit team now crumbled in fear and madness, I in this place overwhelmed by a pyramid of doom. My psychological limit was also forced to the extreme. I realized that the only way to survive was to flee the island as soon as possible. That night, using the last bit of sanity and courage, I shook off the ghost's entanglement and crossed the mist alone to board the prepared dinghy. As the first rays of sunlight hit the water, I finally emerged from that shadow of death, but what I left behind was my teammates and the endless fear in all our hearts. This expedition cost me all my comrades, whose souls might still wander in that cursed land. We left Death Island with a mix of awe and endless memories. The heavy fog on the sea seemed to be seeing us off, and the treasures buried on the island, and every legendary corner, have undoubtedly become an everlasting chapter of adventure in our hearts. The hustle and bustle of the city haven't quelled my panic. Even amidst the throngs on the streets, I sometimes feel a sense of loneliness and unease. Nightmares of day and night have become my regular visitors. I always return to the island in dreams, reliving every moment of the bitter struggle, my heart racing with the battle in the dream. Each awakening, I feel the cold sweat of anxiety. Auditory hallucinations occasionally visit. Sometimes it's that familiar yet strange murmur, other times a cry from the ends of the earth. Even though I know it's just psychological, the fear remains shadow-like. At these moments, I tell myself it's the past, a nightmare I have escaped. But deep in my brain, the sense of horror is always lingering. I began to regularly see a psychologist, attempting to unravel the chain of persistent fear. The doctor is a gentle middle-aged woman who always listens patiently to my descriptions of those dreams, analyzes my emotions, and offers support and guidance. With her help, I've learned some techniques to alleviate anxiety, such as deep breathing, mindfulness meditation, and maintaining a dream journal to confront and interpret my inner world. Although professional help has not erased the dreams, I've started to feel more in control. I understand this battle is not only against the phantoms on Spirit Island, but also an internal struggle, a coming to terms with past experiences. Sometimes, as night falls, I stand on my balcony, gazing at the city lights. The speckled lights remind me of lighthouses scattered across the sea, guiding lost ships back to port. In that moment, I'm back on the dinghy, moving away from that land of horror, towards hope and safety. Over time, I've gradually learned to coexist with that memory in peace. I know every street and corner of this city could be hiding the untold stories and fears of others. And my story is just a part, a secret deeply buried in my heart that I must face bravely.